one of my personal favorite sections of this year's Black History Month collection organizes Black film into mini collections broken out by decades or themes.
Yep.
And we thought we'd take a deeper dive into this experience by looking at our own favorite eras of Black cinema, starting with Kayla. Kayla, can you tell us a little bit about what you chose?
I sure can. And it's also my editor pick of the week inside the collection. And it is If Beale Street Could Talk. I actually didn't get into indie films a lot until the 2010s, around that time when I really started getting into film. And I must say that If Beale Street Could Talk, it was one of my favorite indie films. It came out in 2018. It's a beautiful film adaptation of James Baldwin's novel by the same name. And when I read that, the story just captured my heart. I love James Baldwin. Fun fact is that I'm a huge fan of him and many other Black literary authors like Toni Morrison and Zora Neale Hurston, Richard Wright. The list goes on. So if there's ever a film based on any of those novels, you can bet your bottom dollar I have seen it. If Beale Street Could Talk takes place in early 1970s Harlem, where a daughter and wife-to-be, Tish, our main character, recalls the passion and respect and trust that have brought her and her artist fiance, Fonnie, together. But their plans for their future together is derailed when Fonnie is arrested for a crime he didn't commit. And so with her family's support, she seeks to clear Fonnie's name and prove his innocence before the birth of their child. So the whole film takes place of her just trying to get him free so he can be there for his family. The film received numerous accolades, including Best Supporting Actress wins for Regina King at the Oscars and the Golden Globes. It was also nominated for Best Motion Picture Drama, Best Screenplay, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Original Score. So it's great. It's a beautiful film. And I think I'll watch it again sometime this month because it's been a while.
Yeah.
Well,
my pick. So I've long been fascinated by the Blaxploitation era of the 1970s in terms of films, because it was an era in which Black filmmakers and Black actors who were underrepresented in Hollywood basically took matters into their own hands and made movies that served and entertained Black audiences, often on a shoestring budget, and actually got them into theaters where audiences could see them. And at the time, the roles available to Black actors were often maids, servants, criminals, or some sort of unsavory character. But in these Blaxploitation films, the Black characters were not only heroes, they were absolute badasses. Even when the leads were not traditional heroes, like in Sweetback's Badass Song, Hitman, or The Mac, or when they were blood-sucking vampires like in Blackula. The point is, the Blaxploitation era represented Black filmmakers and actors controlling their own narratives in films, writing their own stories, creating their own heroes, and serving their own audiences in a way that had never been seen before. And one of the biggest stars of the Blaxploitation era was Pam Grier, who appeared in films like Coffee, Sheba Baby, Friday Foster, Hitman, Scream Blackula Scream, and of course, one of the most iconic Blaxploitation films of all time, Foxy Brown. And in this movie, Pam Grier plays a woman seeking revenge on a gang of drug dealers that murdered her boyfriend. If you've never seen it, it's well worth the watch. This is an iconic character. No cinephile or someone who says, I love movies, can claim that they love movies until they've seen Foxy Brown. And you can find that in Kayla's Blaxploitation section in this movie timeline. And I had so much fun, like, digging through there and seeing what you had included, and just these, like, I'm also like a huge movie art nerd, and like the posters of this era were some of the best movie posters ever created for like Shaft.
Good.
Oh, they were so
Yeah.
good. So I just sat there and I just like looked through all these movie posters as well. But it's so cool. And Pam Grier is also like just an icon of cinema, especially as like a Black leading lady. Like, so much to love here, so much to love in this section. So that's my pick. Gordon,
love it.
What era and film did you go with?
Well, I chose the 80s and the 90s, be just to date myself, because that's when I grew up. And when I got the list, I was like, if this movie is on the list, it is my pick, hands down, and it was. And that movie is the 1991 Boys in the Hood, which personally, this was kind of marked when I went from being like a kid to like a teenager, and as a a theater kid and someone who's really into movies. It kind of is kind of like the cutoff point to when you start focusing on more dramatic fare. And Boys in the Hood is the story of a young man who gets into an altercation at school, and his mom goes to send him to live with his auntie and uncle in Bel Air. Actually, no, it's the opposite of that. She sends him to live with his father in South Central LA. It's just, the cast is insane. Cuba Gooding Jr., Lawrence Fishburne, Angela Bassett, Morris Chestnut, and to bring it back, Regina King has a small role in Boys in the Hood, and then also Ice Cube. And I believe this is Ice Cube's first acting role, which opens up something that I could talk about for hours. Is the fact that rappers like Ice Cube and Queen Latifah and Eminem and Ice-T all seem to make great actors, but singers like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, seem to make Mariah Carey seem to be bad actors. I don't know why that is, but Ice Cube does a fantastic job in this movie. And the one thing I wanted to call out, which really struck me when I was younger, was there was a movie called Stand By Me. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It was based on a Stephen King book where four young men I believe it's the 50s or 60s, go on it starts off with one of them saying, "Do you want to see a dead body?" And the entire movie is them walking miles and miles, days and days to go find this dead body that they knew was out there. And Boys in the Hood kind of starts off similarly with four young men. Do you want to see a dead body? And they just have to walk like a street over to see one. It was really opened my eyes back then to the differences in time periods and locations. It's fantastic. It's one of those movies that you watch it differently as a kid. It's when you maybe don't watch it as a kid, as a teenager, than as a parent. Furious Styles, Lawrence Fishburne's character, is amazing. But when I watched as a young man, I would relate to Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character, Trey, and be like, he's a good dad, but he is kind of rough. And now you watch it as a parent, all you think about is trying to steer your kid the right way and keep them safe. So it's just a fantastic role from Lawrence Fishburne. This whole cast is just amazing. Directed by John Singleton. He was nominated for Academy Award for his directing. I believe he was the youngest director at the time to be nominated, and also the first African-American director to be nominated. And this was his first director's credit on IMDb. It's literally knocked it out of the park, his first attempt. So just can't say enough good things about this movie. It really meant a lot to me today, and to watch it again through new eyes as a parent just knocked me for a loop. Just a fantastic movie.
It's so good.
You didn't set me up by talking about the most heartbreaking scene of the movie.
I don't want to talk about it, David. No, spoiler alert, there's a very emotional scene where a beloved character meets his end, and I'm still not okay with it. So, David,
I don't think any of us are.
No, the first time I actually did see it as a kid for the first time because I had a baby. We had a couple babysitters, my sister and I, who would like watch things that were not appropriate for us on TV.
Cool babysitters.
And yeah, for sure. And one of those was Boys in the Hood. And when that death happened, I distinctly remember her sitting there on the couch crying and being like, he was going to go to college, like sobbing. And like, this is the same babysitter who also cried over the death of Rebecca Gayhart's character in 90210. She cried a lot at TV.
Is there something wrong about crying during Boys in the Hood? That is a hill I'm prepared to die on.
No,
because you know it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen.
I know. You see it coming. I know.
You can't save them.
But when you grow up with a babysitter who's constantly crying, I mean, it's bound to do some damage to the children. So I don't know.
Heart of stone on David.
No, I sob at everything.
David laughed. Like when it happened, he's like,
no, certainly not. Don't put that out there. Oh no, I would 100% cry now. And I think I would dread watching this as an adult because I would know that movie or that moment is coming.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it'd be tough. So you can check out all of the movies we just discussed and much more, of course, by saying Black History Month into your voice remote.